Hi there, welcome to February Tarot, Bridging Instincts, Intuition, and Introspection with Symbolism, Archetypes, and Mysticism. I wanted to put together this short little PowerPoint presentation just to touch on a few more tarot cards and give you a sense of how we can use this way of thinking and these symbols, archetypes, and mysticism to help us transition through the seasons to understand ourselves better. And February seems like a perfect month to talk about these things. So the focus for February, as you might be picking up on, are these these things among others. So I want to kind of consider this idea of trusting the process now that we're in February and heading more towards spring, because this is a time where we might want to jump ahead and rush things. I think we all kind of feel like we want to get places faster than maybe we need to. And so trusting the process is part of that journey of being able to allow ourselves to sit and let things unfold. Another thing we want to think about is having faith in the unseen. And when I say unseen, I like to use the metaphor of gardening or the natural world in the sense that there's so much going on underneath the earth that we don't see, so much life, so much evolvement and transformation happening. And it's no different within us that there's a lot of change, incremental change, transformation that we don't see, and we can get frustrated and give up and want to rush things. So we really have to honor and have faith in the process and also what we're not seeing. I also really love this idea of letting things thaw as we kind of stretch through February into what will become warmer months. And when I talk about thawing, it's really about kind of vulnerability and softening the heart and letting ourselves start to open a little bit in the same way that animals might start to come out of hibernation. We might see things more blooming more. And so we're kind of in this transitory process of moving toward that. We're not quite there yet, but February is definitely this month of bridging into that and crossing over. And then imagining what's possible, really, holding this vision for the future and dreaming still, as opposed to bringing things to fruition. So, really holding the possibility of things unfolding and what we're hoping to see happen is a place that we are in right now. And of course, we're working from the inside out. As we move into the warmer months and into spring, we're going to be more outward focused. We're going to be showing up more. We're going to be outside more, hopefully. Hopefully, the pandemic will be lifting and we'll be around people more. So we really want to stay on, this path of inside out work throughout this next 28 days or so. And then I just want to touch on the symbolism of the bridge because we're using this as a metaphor for February to kind of, again, bridge us from, January to March into the spring. And so we're not jumping over, and skipping over February. We're going to walk over that bridge slowly into this next phase of our year. And so January and February really and December really are our big winter months, right? But we're still here. We're still on the other side of the bridge. And so just this idea that a bridge is something that connects two worlds. It's a passage between 2 points, a travel between realms. So this could be our inner realm and our outer realm. It could be, in our case, moving from January to February. It could also be a universal realm and a material realm. So there's lots of different ways to play with that concept. Bridges also offer a new and fresh perspective, curiosity, wonder, and learning. If you ever kind of stand on one side of a bridge and look to the other, I think we all immediately feel this sense of wanting to know what is on the other side. It's exciting. Bridges also heal, mend, and resolve, right? They're kind of a bridging of communication or negotiation. We could think about how when we come together and bridge between two people or we bridge with someone else, we can really heal and mend any difficulties or challenges. It's a threshold, so we're stepping over again into something new and exciting. And it requires a lot of courage and bravery. So sometimes we think about bridges that are very high and there's a big drop underneath. It takes a lot of strength and courage to cross over. And so this is also symbolic of our journey through the year and through our lives. So just quickly, a tarot primer for anybody who doesn't know anything about the tarot, and you don't need to get benefits from it or this little presentation. But it's basically made up of archetypal symbols, numbers, and images. We use this to tell a story. The deck has 78 cards, 22 major arcana cards, which are considered the big secrets. They kind of represent the journey through life, and they range from 0 to 21. So last month we talked about the Fool, that was 0. And then there's also 56 minor arcana cards, which are the little secrets or the situations of daily life. We're not going to talk about those, but if you ever get a tarot reading, you'll see that a lot of the minor arcana come up and they mix in with the major arcana to kind of give a lay of the land of where you are at any given time in your life. So for me, the tarot is not predictive. There's no witchcraft in it. It's really just a beautiful way to kind of see the world or understand our own development and our journey through life in a really meaningful and symbolic way. So I want to start with the magician. The magician I consider to be our unwavering self. He is the master of his own mind and reality. The magician is number 1 in the tarot, so it comes after the Fool. And so this is really the bridging of the universal with the material world. The magician is a part of ourself that chooses thoughts and tools wisely. We are the conduit between our universal experience and our material world. So we really draw on this higher knowledge wherever we're getting it from, and then we take it in and we alchemize it. So the magician to me represents a lot of alchemy. So a lot of churning over of information until we're ready to bring it to the material world. So in a way, we're almost the bridge, right, between our higher learning and our evolvement and how we show up in the world. And with the magician, energy easily flows through mind, body, and spirit, so there are no blocks. It's a clear pathway. And sometimes the blocks could be, our own mental thinking, our negative thinking. It could be conditioned thinking. So the magician really doesn't have a lot of time or space for that. It's really mind over matter, really trusting thoughts and feelings inside of the self. And there's a saying in the tarot and other mystical kind of ways of thinking, as above, so below. And this is really just the idea that the above world is kind of a mirror for the material world that we're living in. And again, the magician using all of these tools on the table, which are represented in the tarot through the suits. We have the pentacles, the little round thing with the star, the cups, the sword, and the wand, and these all mean different things. So this represents the magician has all his tools available to him. He's connected to the universal and the material, and he's a conduit between the two. And so when we tap into the magician within ourselves, we're looking at these messages. You have power over your own mind. Do not let other people tell you who you are or what you should think, really knowing that we have power over how we feel and think. Trust your instincts and your inner voice. Know where you get and give energy. So when we draw in energy from the outside world, we want to be careful because we can take in a lot of negative energy of other people or situations. So we really want to keep our energy strong, and we do that by having this, connection between our own outer world and our inner world. Self-knowledge is power. So the more we can really draw information and learn and grow within ourselves, the more powerful we're going to be and feel. And we always want to align our inner and outer life. And that's what we're doing with Seasoning Your Life, is we're learning to really make sure that our inner world and our outer world are a reflection of each other. We want that to be a congruent experience. And then we have the High Priestess, which is the second card, or third technically, but the second. And the High Priestess is kind of the counterpart to the Magician, but while the Magician is more of a mental focused card, the High Priestess has more to do with intuition and drawing on our gut instincts. So this is really what I consider to be our authentic self. So this is the part of us that really shows up to learn and to grow and to understand that we can't rush the process and we have to do the deeper, harder work in order to tap into that intuition so that we can live more authentically in our own lives, taking responsibility for that. Um, so the high priestess is the moon and the mystic. We're talking a lot about the moon every month. And so we know that the moon represents the feminine and celebration and kind of shining light on shadowy parts of things. So this is a very mysterious card and a very intuitive card. She's the emblem of receptive powers, the gap between self and spirit. So she represents kind of, how do we bridge over our sense of self and our more spiritual self, and what is the doorway to that? How do we find that opening within ourselves to expand and grow and allow ourselves to receive the greater wisdom that we need to receive in order to become our most authentic self? She's the keeper of timeless knowledge. There's this idea with the high priestess that the book cannot be read, it must be lived. And this just means that we really do need to live our lives and go through our own experiences and learn our lessons in order to gain true inner wisdom. We can read some stuff in a book and become educated, obviously, but all of our deepest wisdom and authentic knowing is going to come from lived experience. So never being afraid of the good and bad things that happen in our lives, and trying to see them as opportunities for growth. She represents the awakening of our third eye, and our third eye, is a chakra center that is open to intuition and wisdom and receiving from that level of the universe. And this idea that something will be revealed in time. So the high priestess is the patient part of ourselves, the part of us that's going to let the flowers bloom before we pick them, to understand and trust that the seeds we're planting are going to come to fruition one day. We don't know when, but we're going to again have faith in that process. So the high priestess sends messages to us about facts like your wisdom and secrets are sacred. She's the holder of a lot of secrets. So when you have secrets within yourself, sometimes we think of secrets as being bad, and the tarot cards can always have a dark side or a shadowy side. So secrets, we don't want to use them against other people or, be manipulative with our secrets, but secrets can also be beautiful and sacred. So what we're learning and how we're growing inside of ourselves is very special to us. We don't always have to share that. Stop thinking so much in your head and start intuiting and trusting your gut and tapping into, kind of more introspective ways of being in the world. I think we use our brains a lot, which is wonderful that we have them, but we overuse them and we disconnect from, the kind of the mind and the body. And so we want to tap more into that gut and that trusting of ourselves. Allow things to reveal themselves. As we said, this is what we're learning from her. Cultivate patience and have faith in the process, and you must do the work to receive the wisdom. And then we've got the Hermit, which is really representative of our deepest introspective self. He represents in us the space needed to meet the high priestess. So if we don't create the space to reflect, to sit with ourselves, to listen to ourselves, we will never be able to greet our most authentic self and have access to the high priestess, who's going to give us that greater sense of wisdom and that that feminine trust and that more intuitive self. So the Hermit symbolizes this idea that we need to access the true self through stillness, and that this is where we go to check in with ourselves. So by being quiet, by sitting with the difficult feelings, by taking time to be alone and not being afraid of that, is really when we're going to access our truest voice and be able to really understand how we feel about things and what our perceptions are, what our subjective experience is. The Hermit practices philosophy, introspection, and meditation. So this is a reminder to us that this is the part of us that does need to have ritual and practice, which we're incorporating into our lives each month. At solitude and silence are bridges to self-knowledge. So not necessarily, a feeling, it's not about like isolating ourselves and necessarily totally cutting ourselves off, but that we do need to separate ourselves out from the external world to go inward to quiet that noise. And the Hermit is this card that represents in between the end and the beginning, which is why it's such a lovely card, I think, from winter to spring, because it's the ninth card. And in the tarot, the 10th card is the completion of a journey. So this is kind of right on the cusp of something coming to fruition. And this happens multiple times through the year. This isn't just this one month that we're doing this, but we have many cycles going through what would be considered the first journey in the tarot, and then starting again with the 11th card. So we're always cycling through in that way. So the messages from the Hermit, our answers are found through reconnection with ourselves, taking time to do that, that our guru exists inside of us, to not necessarily always be looking outward, but to really look inward and take that time. Alone doesn't always mean lonely. I know that we're all spending a lot of time alone already because of the pandemic. But you know, if we are alone, we might as well make the best use of it. And it is, you know, there is a kind of a place where we cross over from being alone becomes unhealthy, but let's stay in that realm of where it is still healthy, where we're being introspective and taking the time to understand ourselves. Again, shutting out the noise to hear ourselves is very important, and solitude and silence reveal inner truth. And the sages have known this forever. This is why people do retreats, and why we often, when we want to heal, we feel inclined to go retreat, right? The idea of going somewhere and just not turning off your phone, not doing anything. But we can have these mini retreats all the time in our lives. We don't have to go pay thousands of dollars to go somewhere to teach us that. It's really just a matter of shutting out the noise and spending a little time with ourselves. And I just wanted to finish with this quote: remember that a bridge can't be forced. It must be made with love, or its structure will not withstand the inevitable weather of life. And I think this is just such a lovely quote by Kim Krans, because it teaches us that we really do have to build our bridges from a strong infrastructure of love and self-understanding and compassion. And this is a lot to do with the thawing that we're talking about, the opening of the heart. And so for February, we're gonna spend a little more time focusing on the heart, and just this idea of opening and building things from this foundation, of all of these beautiful virtues and qualities that we all inherently have, but often ignore, or you know, kind of they get veiled by our conditioned thinking, our negative beliefs, listening to other people. So let's not force our bridge. Let's be patient with ourselves. Let's let things reveal. Let's see what it feels like to sit with the discomfort of not rushing into anything, and being patient, you know, really just letting things unfold. So I hope that this gives you some opportunity. There should be some good journaling prompts in here. So lots of things to think about within yourself in the context of your own life. And as always, if you have any questions, please reach out, and I look forward to connecting soon.